All right. What is up, everyone? It is a Monday night. It is a Cowboys-Eagles game, but that doesn't matter for the next, hour or so. It really does. We're here talking about Tempest Runner. It's a roundtable night. You know what it is. I know what it is. Wes knows what it is. Wes knows it's punching it time. Punch it, punch it, punch it, punch it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Living Force, a Utini Network podcast, all about the books we love and the people we love even more. I'm one of your hosts, Eric Eilerson, and joining me tonight is the full cast of crew members, including first, the Valheim player, the trailer destroyer. I don't know. It's not where I'm going. Dr. Corey Helton.
What's up?
Eventually.
What's up? Yeah, eventually. Guys, the trailer's getting real close. It is very, very close. I mounted all the cabinets in the last week. What else have we done? All kinds of stuff. It's all painted. It looks really nice. It's getting close, guys. Getting close. End of October is my deadline. That's my deadline. I think it was previously the end of September, but now it's the end of October. So
I still have to watch your latest episode of Documental
thank you.
Trailer Building.
Thank you.
Listen to that voice. Speaking of things that are beautifully painted and mounting of cabinets, it's Dr. Charles Hankel. There's a mounting joke in there somewhere.
Both of those things have so much to do with me. Thank you for the introduction. Happy to be here. Happy to do another roundtable on a beautiful audio drama, because we don't have enough of those.
We truly don't. But what we do have enough of, because the world cannot hold more than one, is the glorious Wes Jenkins.
Hello, everyone, and this is one of my favorite stories, probably of all time, because I finished it like a week and a half ago, so I didn't have to cram.
Yeah, you just enjoy it.
And I listened to a little bit more of it today on the way to work and coming back from work.
Nice.
So, also, awesome. Corey, just to talk about your trailer, once you get it done, you should have a vacation route to all of our homes, and you can stay in my driveway.
Yes. Look at that. It's perfect.
The Homeowners Association.
I won't let you in. I'll just come out.
You won't let me siphon any electricity either. It's like, can I have an extension cord?
No.
Like, oh, no, bro. No, you can't.
No, I can't do that.
Bro? You got a generator?
Dude, this is Texas. We don't do that anymore. One else thing I do have to acknowledge, because we are a brand, right? We did get a super chat before this show started, which we appreciate, from our own Andrew Bell.
We do appreciate you, Andrew.
Yeah.
What does it say?
For $2, which is almost as much as this shit is worth, it's Fly Eagles Fly. And I'm going to wash that out my mouth with alcohol now.
If Eric will say that, he will say literally anything. Remember that, folks.
Eric is just a little mad because the Cowboys are playing the Eagles tonight on Monday Night Football, and somebody from Utini, I don't know who it was, put a hashtag on the TLF Twitter account. So
can't imagine who it was. It does help me, though, Andrew, that currently in our Utini League, Jacob's beating you by 100. So anyway, about this week, a couple things before we get into our roundtable, which we love. We want to give a congratulations to all of the creative teams behind Star Wars Visions. It got released last week to freaking wild acclaim for the most part, unless, there were rude people, there were whatever's fine. But for the most part, I think everyone really enjoyed it. And there was a lot of variety of people's favorite episodes. So that was cool. If you're online and you've watched it, everyone kind of had a different favorite episode. There were some that were in the top tier, and some were middling. But for the most part, everyone liked a different thing. And I think that really showed how cool Visions can be in setting a precedent going forward with content. Did you guys get to, well, first of all, have you guys watched it yet? Because I watched them all on release day, but I know that people like to spread them out. So how much have y'all watched?
I have seen the first one. So I saw Ronan, the first one. And it was phenomenal. It was so good. I love the animation style. It wasn't like anything I've seen before. I've seen anime before in that type, but having Star Wars in there, it just makes it that much better. It's just super good. So I still have 8 more to go, I think, right?
Nice.
There's 9 of them.
Nice.
Yeah, we watched. No, go ahead.
I've watched the first 7. The most recently this morning. I'm spreading them out a lot because I've been really enjoying the experience. And I think, should I say favorites? Can I say what my favorites are?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
I have no idea if this is going to line up with other people because I've actually intentionally stayed away from everyone's rankings and all that kind of stuff. I don't want any spoilers. I don't want to go on with preconceptions, etc. So my favorite, I think so far, has to be The Ninth Jedi.
That's up there for a lot of folks. It's epic.
I figured it's incredible. Surprise one that's for sure top 3 for me, or surprising to me, was Tatooine Rhapsody.
Yeah,
that was
man, sure.
So fun.
Yeah.
That's your next one, Wes. I think that was the second episode.
Yeah, it's the second episode.
And then I just this morning watched The Elder, which was incredible. So those ones are probably my top 3.
Yeah, when I watched The Elder, I got very much you vibes off of that. The master in that story is very much a Charles type Jedi.
It felt Qui-Gon Obi-Wan to me. Yeah, that pair.
Yeah, I love those. I like those. And then The Village Bride is another one of mine.
Yes. That one was beautiful. That one was maybe the most striking visually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have not. I haven't watched it yet. I've been waiting for Caitlin. She was in training for her work all weekend, which sucked. So, we'll start watching it maybe tonight. What's the first one tonight? Maybe how long are they now?
Celebrate. Between 14
minutes.
and 22 minutes.
Nice,
Yep.
excellent. Sounds great.
16 minutes and 38 seconds.
We all answered that question all at the same time with different responses.
So one of them's right. But yeah, so a little sneak peek too. I think what we're going to do next week's show, I think we're going to start breaking down Visions episodes. We'll probably take 2 episodes of Living Force and kind of go through each short and talk about them at length and just kind of, it's a new initiative. So stay tuned to that next week. And we'll keep you posted, of course, on the socials for what we decide to do. Now, the weekly Yatini Fantasy Update. It was a rough week for ya boy, who had a thing where my players all sucked. But... as aforementioned, our very own Jacob, our Spice Den friend, is up to 150 points this week. He is our high scorer, led by the glorious performance of Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp. Gotta love that stack there, dude. And then, of course, Mason Crosby helping you out. But Jacob, great week. It's been a nice, fun time. Wes, you are winning your matchup with our good friend Timothy Guthrie right now, but he's got a few players tonight. That Josh Allen just isn't fair to you. So we'll keep you all posted. And to everyone that still has players playing tonight, go Cowboys if you have an Eagle Dynafier. All right, next. We want to talk about our glorious patrons. I assume some of whom might be Eagles fans, but no one's perfect. We want to thank you all for getting us to our next Patreon goals and wanted to address it. Because we've talked about our Rogue One watch party. That was our community goal that we reached. And we're also close to this Attack of the Clones commentary. So what we're going to do, we talked about this a little off air, and I'm going to say it on the show now to make us do it.
Oh, my God.
We are going to reach out. Oh, my goodness. We're going to reach out to you all in a bit and ask... Oh, my God, Andrew. This super chat, I'll read it in a second. We're going to ask if you would all like to do a community watch party or get another commentary. We're going to kind of have a vote or something. We'll talk to Timothy, but keep your eyes peeled. And if you're on our Patreon to see what kind of content is coming your way. And Andrew, thank you, my friend, for reminding me there have been 536 different Star Wars books and comics published since the Dallas Cowboys last won a Super Bowl.
Jesus Christ.
I appreciate you and all you've done, and I hope that you never, ever, ever need someone to watch your back on Starfighter Assault ever again. Let's go to the Star Wars Weekly Roundup.
It's the Star Wars Weekly Roundup.
All right, speaking of news that makes us very sad, we do have an announcement that I think a lot of people saw online this week. Queen's Hope, the upcoming end of the Padme trilogy from E.K. Johnston, has unfortunately been delayed until April 5th, 2022. I believe it was last week's show or the week before we did mention that there's been a supply chain shortage with books. Like literally there's been a point where some of the materials they need to print the books is being used to make the cardboard because people are buying so many things online. There's a bunch of reasons for it, but that book has been delayed. So past the next wave of the High Republic, we will finish that off and then get Padme in April. However, if you pre-ordered it, most places will just transfer your pre-orders. And if you did pre-order a signed copy from Firehouse Books, which was the thing that E.K. Johnson was doing, they have sent out emails to people about how that's being handled. So check your spam folders if you didn't get anything about that. But just a heads up that here on out for the fall and winter, we got Ronin, which I have next to me here, and Thrawn, which is 550 pages. So there's still books coming, but maybe we can, I don't know, go read Darth Plagueis in November, you know?
Excellent.
You got time now. And of course, speaking of new books, we did want to talk about something that got released today, and that is a preview for Ronin. Here, I'm going to hold this up. I was lucky enough to get my physical copy of Ronin this week. It is gorgeous. It has a textured cover. If you have had any of the out of print special edition covers, the texture feels a lot like that.
Nice.
They released the first 5 chapters for free on Del Rey today, or on StarWars.com. And if y'all remember, the last time they did something like this was for a little book called Light of the Jedi. So I'd say that bodes well, wouldn't you guys?
And don't forget the 5 chapters goes past what's in the duel. The duel is like the first 2 chapters. So if you've watched that, you've enjoyed that, you need the next step, go ahead and start Ronin. You get twice that much story right now.
Yeah. There is a little bit of a cliffhanger, and I know we had some people on our Discord saying that we wanted to, wait for the whole thing to come out, because some people just want to go all in one go. Very respectable. It's coming out very soon on October 12th, I believe. So you can wait if you want. Make sure you get those pre-orders in if you want it at all, or go to StarWars.com right now, read those first 5 chapters. It's freaking amazing. Then we want to give a quick congratulations to friend of Star Wars Twitter, friend of StarWars.com, and notable Dallas Cowboys fan, yes, that's right, herself, Kelly Knox, has a new book coming out. That got announced today from DK Publishing, and it is, I think, written directly for Charles. It's called Be More Obi-Wan, and this is the cover here. It's because navigate your world with wit and wisdom. Charles, do you want to be more Obi-Wan in your life?
It's pretty much my mantra. I mean, every morning I wake up, I look myself in the mirror, I point directly at my chest, and I say, be more Obi-Wan. And I have to assume there are multiple versions of this book coming out. I assume there's going to be like an English Standard, a King James version. They're going to be in every hotel room, nightstand.
I mean, you nailed it. It has to be. So Kelly, congrats on getting another publishing deal with this. You guys can pre-order that now. They've done a Leia book like this, a Yoda book, and I'm glad that Obi-Wan is finally getting his respect it deserves. And remember, all you got to do to wait for that book is to point in the mirror like Charles, but do it with like the 2 fingers, right? You got to point at yourself in that weird way. And if you're looking to buy that book or any book and want to help support the show and or your local bookshop, go to the utini.com release schedule where you can get Ronin, a Visions novel coming out on October 12th, or Thrawn Ascendancy, Lesser Evil coming out on November 16th. And y'all, after that, it's the Wave 3 of the High Republic. So get ready. A few months down the road, but get those pre-orders in now. All right, that is what we got for the intro now. This is where we say that from here on out, after our little ad we're going to do, we'll be talking all about Tempest Runner, the Cavan Scott audio drama. There will be full spoilers, so if you have not listened yet and you want to stay unspoiled, thank you for tuning in. Go listen to it and come back. And if you have listened, we will see you on the other side of this break. See you in a minute.
Lightsaber lamp, and I just I just knocked over everything in my office so I could get this into the camera shot. I knocked one of the posters off the wall.
Anderson cover. I have heard the Anderson cover described by some friends of mine as one of their least favorite Legends covers, and I don't totally know why. Maybe it's just because Depa Billaba has this dead stare in the background.
You know what it is?
Emma, what is your art of the week this week?
Yeah, so I don't have anything as dark and depressing as that corpse, but
Oh, glorious. Nothing is better than a corpse. All right, on that note, Charles, We listened to an audio drama in the High Republic era, and you put a bunch of notes out, and we're going to talk about it. So without further ado, Tempest Runner Roundtable, engage.
All right, y'all, let's do it. So let's start this off how we always do. Let's go through a plot synopsis of everything that happened in this audio drama. Here we go. Lorna D and her Tempest attack Starlight Beacon. The Jedi and Nile clash. Lorna quickly realizes that she's going to lose the battle, but Markian Ro denies her any reinforcements. Lorna then fakes her death using a droid in her armor, but is still captured and imprisoned. The Republic doesn't realize their true prize, and Lorna identifies herself as Sal Crossed. Elsewhere, a Nile member tells the story of what happened at Starlight Beacon to a couple of strangers in a bar. One of those strangers ends up being none other than Pan Ada. Pan kills the man and alerts his ship that they are going after Lorna. Chief Tarpfin of Starlight Beacon's security force interrogates Lorna, still not knowing her true identity, and learns about her childhood. Lorna reveals that she lived on Ioloth, a Twi'lek colony, as the daughter of its leader, the Keeper. However, she clashed with her family over how poor their people were. Lorna wanted her family to mine spice as a way of making credits, but her family refused. Out of frustration, Lorna is tricked by a friend named Bala into assisting with a coup, thinking she would be put in charge afterwards. Instead, she was betrayed and her entire family was killed. She was then sold as a slave to the Zygerians. After the interrogation, Tarpfin condemns Lorna to a sentence aboard a prison ship, the Restitution, that travels the galaxy attempting to teach new skills to its inmates so they can eventually be effectively reintroduced to the galaxy. She's accompanied by one of her Nile crew members, Tasia, who threatens to reveal Lorna's identity. Lorna is forced to do whatever Tasia wants. As she befriends other inmates, Lorna reveals more about her past, including how she was freed from the Zygerians. The Jedi, specifically Oppo Rancisis and his Padawan, were responsible for freeing her. Rancisis ultimately delivered Lorna to Kurita Academy and encouraged her to seek a new life helping people. After being continually harassed at the academy, Lorna nearly killed another cadet and escaped in a stolen fighter. Back aboard the Restitution, Lorna manages to make both friends and enemies. She finds herself going toe-to-toe against Ula Hest, a longtime inmate who essentially runs things on the ship. The Restitution then lands on Arbra to provide aid after a Nile attack, but suddenly Pan Ada arrives intent on killing Lorna. When Lorna becomes trapped and is at Pan's mercy, they reminisce about their first meeting. Sorry, I find that part kind of funny. After fleeing the academy, Lorna became a mercenary, posing as a Mandalorian. Bala, the same Twi'lek who betrayed Lorna, then approached her for a job fighting against the Nile, though he didn't recognize her. Lorna accepted the job and went on to defeat an entire Nile storm, but then Pan Ada arrives and is so impressed with Lorna that he offered her a position in his Tempest. As one of Lorna's first acts as a member of the Nile, she took a storm to attack Ioloth and annex the spice mines. After revealing her identity, she murdered Bala for his betrayal so many years before. Back on Arbra, help arrives and rescues Lorna from Pan, and Pan is somehow still able to escape. Aboard the Restitution after her near-death experience, Lorna shares her true identity with one of the prison administrators whom she befriended. He convinces Lorna that she can still change her ways and become a better person. In another flashback, Lorna recalls traveling to the Great Hall in No Space, where she witnessed Asgar Ro accuse one of the Tempest Runners, Zan Avon, of withholding credits from him. But before Zan could be killed, he broke free and attacked Ro. Lorna killed him before any harm could come to the eye. As a reward, Asgar Ro made Lorna the new Tempest Runner. Lorna later learned that Pan and Kassav were working with Zan Avon, and that all three Tempest Runners wanted to kill Asgar Ro so that his son, Markian, could take over. They thought he'd be more easily controlled, but rather than join them, Lorna warned Asgar. Asgar's offended Lorna assumed that she would be elevated amongst the Nile as Ro's equal. He rebuffed her and sent her after Pan and Kassav. Instead, as revenge for her denial, Lorna secretly returned to the Great Hall and murdered Asgar. Markian Ro took over as Eye of the Nile, but the Tempest Runners quickly realized that they had made a mistake. The soft-spoken son of Asgar quickly revealed his true nature. In the present, Pan Ada attacks the Restitution, still trying to find a way to kill Lorna. Lorna bands together with the rest of the prisoners she's befriended to fight back. Eventually, Pan is captured and she has the opportunity to kill him, but her new friends convince her not to do it. They convince her that she's become better than that. Before things have a chance to get too heartwarming, Lorna learns the prison administrator lied to her. In a fit of anger, she kills Pan and the prison administrator. She then offers all the prisoners aboard the ship a choice: either use one of the escape pods to leave or join her as a member of her new Tempest. Marky and Ro contact Zetar, but is quickly interrupted by Lorna, who arrives aboard the Restitution, which she has renamed the Lorna D. Along with her new Tempest, she wants to discuss what the next steps are for the Nile. So that does it. There's your plot synopsis for Tempest Runner. Now, I want y'all to rate this audio drama from 1 to 10 like we usually do, and give me any initial thoughts. Corey, you first, sir.
Yeah, I will. So funny enough, I actually really enjoyed this book. So there was lots of jokes about it that I've seen online. One of my favorites was Bronchitis, a Star Wars story. Because audio dramas have, if you've never listened to an audio drama, they have lots of sound effects and that sort of thing. And Pan Ada is like freaking dying of some horrific lung disease. And
literally the whole time.
The whole book. Yep. So literally every scene that he's in, he's like, like it's like intense coughing the whole friggin' time. It's pretty funny. It's very good. But I really enjoyed this book. Like I think this book is like maybe second to Dooku Jedi Lost for me as far as like my favorite audio dramas. But it was very good. I enjoyed it a great deal. I love a good villain story. I'm a sucker for that. Thought it was original, thought the plot moved well. I loved the back and forth flashbacks. Like it wasn't at all jarring. Like it felt natural. Like I really enjoyed it. So I would give this book like an 8.8.
8.8.
Nice.
That's a strong
Mm-hmm.
start.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Wes, what do you think?
I'm going to give this audio drama an 8.1. Again, I thought it was a great story. I kind of got lost in some of the transitions, but after I started listening to it a second time, it was easier to kind of pick out Tasia and Lorna D. That was kind of tough in the beginning when they were in the med bay. But no, I thought it was. I mean, it was good. It was really good, and we got to know how Ascar Ro actually died, because then we did not know that. And if you had listened to the audiobook of the last the last High Republic book that came out, that it's the same voice that does Pan Ada. Yeah. So you're listening to him at the bar in the very beginning, and you're like, wait a second, that's Pan. And then he's like reveals himself in like the beginning, and you think you're a lot smarter than everybody else. But anyways, very good audio drama. I love these audio dramas, especially, and they didn't overdo it with the music in this one, where they kind of like throw in Leia's theme or Luke's theme in there. They didn't overdo it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They didn't overdo it at all. So they did a really good job with that. So I appreciated that from whoever the content makers were for that.
Yeah. Pan Ada is like massacring a small town, and like Yoda and the younglings is in the background. All right, so we got 2 8+ ratings so far. Eric, what did you think?
I'm gonna go. I'll go 8.2 for this one. Not just intentionally because Wes did 8.1, but I was thinking 8.2 because I also did enjoy it quite a bit. I also got a bit lost at a decent amount of points during, especially at the end when there was a lot of alliances and betrayals, and I was like, okay. So who was on what team and in what time period were they on that team? Because that also changed. And I think that when hopefully this becomes a script book as well, I'm very much looking forward to going after it and just having that like list of characters and like read that a little bit, which I didn't quite feel as much in Dooku and Afra, because Afra was more so like just Afra, and it was a story that we already knew. I think Dooku was just a little bit more clear on that, but I still, again, everything you guys have said, I basically agree with. I liked the villain origin story of it. The action I thought was super fun, especially at the beginning. Like that battle was so visceral. With the Republic, I really liked that, and I think that it humanized Lorna without making her like a good guy. Like she's still a villain at the end of it, and I liked that because I thought that she's too powerful just to be like, well, I'm actually full of love and light. It's like, I mean, you're not a psycho, but you're still going to kill a lot of people. So I did enjoy it. A little bit of clarity would have helped me bump it up a little more, but a solid 8.2.
Yeah. I agree with everything y'all have said as well. I'm going to give it an 8.0. I really enjoyed it. It was a nice, quick Star Wars story. It did what I think it needed to in really fleshing out the character of Lorna D. She's the one of the Tempest Runners that I was the most interested in out of any of them. So it was great to get that story.
Don't want the Zetar audio drama?
Yeah. Does anybody care about Kosev?
I don't need that.
Kosev.
Pan was always my second favorite, so it was great to have him come back.
Oh, yeah, it works out great for you.
It did. But yeah, I agree. Sometimes it was a little easy to get lost. Sometimes I totally get, and we're going to come around to this, but I totally get how flashbacks work really well for these type of stories. But sometimes they feel really forced. Like that moment I laughed at in my plot synopsis where Pan finally had Lorna on the ropes like he's wanted, and he decides to reminisce about how they first met. You know what I mean? Like those kind of moments can feel forced to me. But the story overall was great, and I'm really happy that we got it. So yeah, perfect. So we're all like at least an 8. So this is very a strong showing. As I'm not surprised because it's Cavan and it's an audio drama, like of course. Yeah. So Corey, you kind of already answered this, and Eric, you a little bit too, but just definitively, as our first question here, where does this rank? Where does Tempest Runner rank amongst all of the audio dramas that we've gotten for you?
Let's refresh too. How many do we have? We have
3.
We have 3. Okay, all right.
Yes.
So there's Dooku Jedi Lost,
Afra, and
the Afra, and this book. Yeah.
Those are true audio dramas. If you're listening to this and you haven't listened to the others, that means there's full casts. It's not the same as just an audio book.
Right.
Like there's a ton of actors, a ton more artists are part of this.
And it's just a different style too, right? It's not like a book,
it's like a
right?
play.
It doesn't say. And then Lorna D said it's just an actress that is Lorna D.
It's a radio drama that's not on the radio.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. This is gonna sound weird, but I think it'll make sense to y'all. I think I rank this 3rd, but I don't rank it last. You know what I mean? Like I feel like saying that it's last makes this weird sound like
it's like a 2, but it's actually a 6. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Dooku Jedi Lost, I think, even though it was the first one that like introduced us to the format, I think was just insanely good, and I think I just also gravitate more to Jedi stories. So that was great. And then Afra, Emily Wu Zeller's singular performance, I think, is still the most impressive single performance we've had out of all of them. Yeah. And knowing that story from the comics, I think, helped a lot of the issues that I maybe had following, because I'm like, oh, I know what happens. And I think this one is still very good. It just didn't have those additives for me. So I go Dooku, Afra, Tempest Runner, but they're very close.
Okay.
Yeah,
y'all agree?
That's tough.
For the most part.
This is like real fresh on our minds, right? And so we wanted to feel and read and hear some of these reveals that we didn't know about. And we kind of already knew the story with Afra, right? But it sounds like we're all putting Dooku Jedi Lost as the first, as the best.
I think so.
Clearly.
But I liked Dr. Afra, and I like this one probably equally. So I put them at 2. Tie for second.
Nice.
I would honestly, funny enough, almost put this one tied for first personally. And like I like there were noticeable things that I did not like about the Afra book, and like this book, I really, really enjoyed it. And I think it's funny about like there's lots of different responses to audio dramas, and like I'm in some Facebook groups for Star Wars stuff, and people's criticisms are so weird to me that they have about books and stuff. And they're like, I couldn't tell any of the characters apart, and I couldn't focus, and I kept having to rewind. And it's funny how different people's brains work, and there's lots of variables probably involved in your listening experience. And like, I listened to this book while distracted, working on my trailer, like painting and doing really repetitive tasks. And I did not get distracted at all. I didn't have to rewind a single time. I didn't have any trouble telling anybody's voices apart, not a single time. So like, for me, I'm like, oh wow, they did it, right? Like they did the audio drama in like the perfect way and then like, I see lots of people are like having trouble with it and stuff. So, I think there's a lot of things to consider. I've been on a huge audiobook kick in the last like 2 months because I've been doing a lot of trailer work, and I would much rather listen to an audiobook while I'm working out there and just screwing stuff in and fixing stuff, like doing a repetitive task, than listen to music. So, this is like my 4th in like a long stream of audiobooks. Maybe my brain was already in the audiobook place, right, when I got to this one. So I don't know. I mean, I really rank it up there high. Like, Cavan Scott is an unbelievable writer. Like when it comes to audio dramas, like it's very clear
for
that
scripting,
he's got.
it's a different skill.
It is for sure.
So you take in audiobooks better when you're fixing and screwing. Got it.
Yeah,
excellent.
Right. That is correct.
I will also say it's interesting that for me, I think I take them in better when I'm like walking the dog is my perfect audiobook listening, because I'm not really focusing on other tasks, but I'm still active, because I think my brain, I mean, call it 2021 millennial, whatever, like if I'm listening to something, I'm like, I can't just listen to a thing. I can't just listen to a record. I can't just listen to a book. Like because I'm listening, I can do other things. And then I get distracted a little more, which I think is my own thing. But I think if I just like go on a walk, future audio dramas, I want to like go on a walk around the neighborhood or just like do something that's less. Like I tried to do this like while I was at work for part of it, and I was like, "Oh, that's tough. I'm looking at mortgage rates and listening to Jedi. Like that's a little confounding."
I've never been able to understand the way that you can multitask, Eric. Like listen to audiobooks and do work. That is like not possible for me. Like if I'm having to read or doing anything else, like I can't do it. Like so, I mean. It takes menial tasks. I'm kind of with you. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why I got it this time. Is because like I was doing specific menial tasks. It's short too, right? So
this is really short. It was the shortest one by a bit.
Especially when you listen to it like at 1.6 times, like you do, freak.
It's medical school's fault, man. I'm sorry. I don't know how to process information at a normal speed.
Well, so I just kind of touched on this a little bit, but I'm curious, what do y'all think of the framing of Star Wars audio dramas in general? Not even just this one, but again, all of them seem to have a present day story that's just kind of peppered with flashbacks, right? And that particular structure has actually been less favored with written novels, right? Yeah. When we got things like Last Shot, there were a lot of comments, at least about how the structure was a little bit jarring, jumping through the timeline. Not that Last Shot wasn't fantastic, but does it work better to do that with audio dramas? Like, is it more easily palatable for you?
I think the first thing to say is like we have 3 different perspectives that have been provided with audio drama so far, right? With Dooku Jedi Lost, it was somebody else like telling the story, right? It was from Ventress's point of view, kind of, right? So and then she was like reading all this stuff and watching all these like holograms and everything of like what the past was happening. So it was kind of from her point of view, right? Then the Afro book is like she's narrating this weird self-centered autobiography thing, right? I'm like, so it's that type of thing. And then this story stands out to me because it's like an autobiography, right? Like it is her story, but she's not like telling it the way that Afro was. It's like it's her being in the present day and then her being back in time telling her origin stories, which in my opinion, this version is the best version, I think. Like getting the person's point of view, like it just feels like it's from their point of view, right? But not in this.
It's like the therapist trope in TV shows, like where they're talking to the therapist, like then what happened? And then you get like the woo, and then you watch the scene. That's what it is. Yeah, literally, there's a therapist in this book.
Yes, exactly. So I mean, I like that structure. I think the best, and you know, I've personally kind of always been a big fan of like the back and forth nature of books. A lot of Legends books are like that. A lot of Legends books are like that. Like so. I mean, I've always been a big fan of that. I like the back and forth flashbacks. I think the structure works well. I didn't interpret a lot of the flashbacks the way you did either, Charles. Like you felt like it was weird, like when Pan Eta like stopped to reminisce. I mean,
that one was weird.
Yeah, isn't she trapped under something? And they're just like, all right, let's talk about what happened.
I
years
get it,
ago.
but it's also like D&D rules, right? So like every what is it? Rotation in combat is like 6 seconds or something like that. That's how I was like, you know, they didn't have a 45-minute conversation right there. They had like a 3-minute conversation where he said something like, "Hey, you remember when we met?" And she's like, "Yeah, that sucked." Then they moved on, right? Like that's actually what happened.
It was a bad first impression.
But like it's the Star Wars story, right? So we had to tell the whole story, right? So I don't know. That's how I interpreted it, but that's funny.
I'm with you on that. I like the setup of this one more. Like I honestly I forget constantly about the Asajj Ventress part of Dooku Jedi Lost because it's just not really a key part of it.
It wasn't very good in times too. Like it was somewhat distracting, and you're like, all right, get back to the flashbacks, right? Like,
and I think as we're getting used to the audio dramas more, I think we're just trusting the characters, like in this one, to kind of hold it more. And I think my preference is way more technical. Like, I want the ages of the characters to be drastically different in the audio format, because
so they're very different.
Yeah, Dooku helped me a ton because like clearly a kid, clearly an adult.
Yeah,
so I knew where we were. Whereas this one, like the Lorna voice actress, and they were like in the same realm of voice tenor, and I'm like, ooh, unless I hear like then, now, like some of the books do, that's when I got a little lost. But that being said, if they do that with the actors, I agree, Corey. I like this template better than a overall frame story, unless you do have someone as charismatic as Afra or Emily Woozeller that is like, I want to listen to you just chill for 6 hours, but I feel like that's very hard to grasp on a single character.
Yeah, for sure.
So given that this is an audio drama, this is a full performance by a whole cast of people, I have to ask the question, were there any standout performances for you in this book? Like, was it Pan, who, Wes, you mentioned that voice actor jumped out to you immediately, you recognized it. Was it getting Asgar Rowe? Did you really like actually hearing from Lorna D first person for that length of time? Like, I don't have a list of the cast here. Maybe we can pull it up just to actually give credit where credit's due, but did any particular character performance jump out to you?
The funny one that I was like trying to remember, like all the characters, who was a good and believable character to me. I think one of my favorites was who was Lorna's like boyfriend or whatever that betrayed her.
Bala.
Yeah. Sullivan Jones. Yeah.
Sullivan Jones playing. I really liked that character. Like when he flipped sides or whatever and totally betrayed Lorna. I didn't see that coming at all.
That was dope.
Like I didn't see it at all. So like he was playing her big time in that whole introductory scene, and I'm like, that was good. I mean, I've like Star Wars books. We've read hundreds of them at this point, right? Like it's like they're pretty predictable at times. So that took me for a loop. I wasn't expecting that to happen. I was expecting the classic orphan trope of like you run away together and then you have some kind of disagreement and you split up or something. But no, she like screwed her over like
straight
hard.
up in the back.
Okay, let's let me pretend to help you, but actually sell you into slavery. Like holy shit.
Yeah, and
like,
take over your planet.
Exactly.
And they were like in love. They told each other, "Hey, I love you." And he's like, I love you too.
Yeah, and he wrecked her, dude. Let me kill your whole family and then sell you into slavery. Like I don't know that I've never seen such a horrible
response to "I love you" than I know.
Yeah,
I killed your whole family and sold you into slavery.
Yeah, exactly. So I liked him a good deal.
I think Lorna D definitely took over as like the main standout performance in this book. The one performance that I couldn't get away from was Tasia, because she sounds like the Russian dodgeball player from Dodgeball.
Rusty Pyle? Yeah.
Fran Stalinov. I put the name in the chat because
oh my God,
the last name is so long. But yeah, she
holy
sounds like,
crap! Is that real? That is like a 50 character
like
last name right there. That
like an old Russian large woman.
Wow.
And every one of that, she didn't sound anything like I've heard a Twi'lek.
Okay. Yes. All right. Tasia was like who's the lady? Dolores Umbridge in Harry Potter for me. Like, how bad did you want Lorna D to kill her at multiple times in this book?
Oh yeah.
She was so awful. Like it just like
it was
shut
crazy.
The hell up, they're gonna kill us. It was just frustrating.
Yeah,
right? I love this was Franz Stelinovskovich Davidovitsky. That's
there it is. Perfect. Print it.
Holy shit! I didn't know you'd be able to pronounce that.
That's wonderful. Well, you took Russian. I'm gonna cheat here and go to the review that I wrote because I remember writing this about who I liked a lot. Bala was in there. I really like Counselor Wittick. I thought Dan Bittner did a great job with him. I thought Jonathan Davis's Asgar Rowe was especially really cool.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I felt some type of way about Saskia Marveld's Avar Chris. Like that she came on and I was like, hello, Avar Chris. One, I love the character, but two, I mean, she did the first Alphabet Squadron book. which I absolutely loved of her reading of it. I think she was my favorite of the three. And for some reason, her Avar Chris, when she started speaking, I'm like, yes, ma'am. What would you like? what can I do for you? How can I help you? This is great. Can we have a whole thing about this? Yeah. But like it was so interesting seeing Avar for me, because it was a small part of this book were the Jedi, but the Jedi parts I thought were really great because we've been really reading about Avar for almost a year now. And I've seen her in the comics, and now to hear the voice was kind of surreal. And I'm like, please, anytime that we do an audiobook with Avar Chris again, I don't want to hear, again, Mark Thompson, I love you, you're great. I don't want to hear Mark Thompson doing Avar Chris's voice again, doing like a high-pitched whatever thing. Yeah. Just cut and paste Saskia Barfeld's voice. That's all I need.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks lately, and we've said this before, and, we love Mark Thompson. He's such an unbelievably good performer, and something about his performances are just utterly incredible.
His Pan Ada was great. His Mark Young-Ro was great.
Something about young women in Mark Thompson's voice. I just can't do it, man. I just can't do it. It's too anime for me. I don't know what it is, but it just takes me out a little bit.
Hiya!
Never do that again.
Shout out to, because correct me if I'm wrong, it is the same Jonathan Davis that is narrated like 9 million.
Yeah, Jonathan Davis.
Not Jonathan Davis from Korn.
I had
just to get it straight.
It would be super cool if it was. Not my biology professor in college who didn't think I was going to become a doctor, Jonathan Davis. Not that one.
Who was also from Korn, weirdly enough.
That's fine.
All right. So, y'all, we learned a lot about Lorna's past in this story, and most of it wasn't really pretty, right? Her family was murdered in a coup. She was sold into slavery. She was harassed by other cadets at a Republic Academy, etc. Did any of that actually make you sympathetic towards her?
I would like to take this question. The answer is yes. Hard yes. And listen, guys, I might turn out to be a supervillain one day. I'm just gonna say it. Like,
turn out to be
one day. Sure. Sorry. Let's take that back. No. What?
Are you looking for a right-hand man?
If I was Wes, I can say this without question. Of the four of us here, it would be you. The answer.
Don't try, Corey. I have the high ground.
Absolutely. Listen, I am such a sucker for a villain story. I don't know what it is. I just finished Darth Plagueis, which I have said is the holy grail of Star Wars books at this point. 10 out of 10 performance. I'm in the middle of Tarkin, also by James Luceno. Also absolutely loving it. Like, man, villains, guys. I don't know what it is, but like I remember when I think it was Force Awakens was coming out, like when we first learned about all the actors that were going to be in it, there was some kind of panel. I think it was a celebration in Orlando, I believe, and they brought out all the cast, let them answer some questions, and like whoever was narrating, or doing the commentary or whatever, like asked Adam Driver a question. He said something like, so you play the evil character in this movie. Like, what are your thoughts? What are your motivations? That sort of thing. And he Adam Driver, he's like such a profound kind of dude when he
cerebral,
talks.
Yeah.
He is. He really is cerebral. And he said something, this long description about like how evil is like a point of view, and I don't think that he feels, or Kylo Ren feels like he's evil. It's like he feels like he's just in his actions and all this type of thing. And I'm like, that speaks to me, man. Like, I don't know what it is, but something about Lorna D, like, of course she feels like the galaxy has betrayed her, and she's all these horrible experiences, and like everybody's been trying to force this life for her, and like I loved it. I thought it makes her a believable character. It makes the Nihil not just this crazy bloodthirsty bunch of hoodlums, right? Like her, like scavengers, kind of like what's the desert car movie? Mad Max. Like it's not just these barbaric people with no morality or motivations, that they only care about money and only money, like, right? It was more than that. It made it deep for me. So I loved it. I thought it was very good. Very good.
Yeah, I mean, there's a series of events that turned her into who she is.
Yeah.
Especially when the first event is her family being killed, like, in front of her.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Couldn't she, somebody, trip her or push her down the stairs first before something like that happens?
It's like, nope.
First
straight to family death.
I know. First they kill her family. So, I mean, you can sympathize because you don't know what what you would turn into if somebody just completely murders your family in front. And she didn't even seem that upset.
By her boyfriend, no less, which you've already talked about, right?
Yeah, shock. Become Luke Skywalker.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was really interesting to see her journey from there, because I think in a weird way, in the real world, we're getting so used to like the villains of the world being just rich assholes that life has been fine and they just want
Hitlers,
power.
right?
Yeah, that's boring. Whereas like if you watch someone suffer and suffer and suffer, then you're kind of like, okay.
Right. Sidious
I don't want
is a
her
good
to kill.
villain. Darth Vader is a good villain. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't want them to kill a bunch of people. But, like, I mean, there's so... I'd be mad, too.
I know.
Like, once you could track the things that have happened to her, that's why I really loved the spotlight they put on, like, therapy and, like, talking out trauma in this book, which I thought was very prescient.
Interesting.
And how, like... They're like, it's not gonna fix everything, but how she was like, oh, I can just talk out my trauma, and he's like, yeah, that's awful, that's terrible, of course it is. And I think that spoke a lot to her character as well. And even though at the end she's going off to do her own thing, I think it showed a lot of why villains do what they do. Like, why do people join gangs? It's for community, it's for safety. Why do people do horrible things? Because horrible things have been done to them, and she plays within the rules for so long. So then she's like, great, the rules don't work because I keep getting screwed. So I will break the rules. Ooh, I'm not getting screwed anymore. I will continue to do that. And I thought I still think she's going to get taken down eventually. But I think it was a really interesting way to bring her to the next phase, if you will.
Yeah, and the other thing I was going to add, too, is that's like, it was almost kind of like a meta discussion of the book, too, right? Like with the whole prison guards and all that kind of thing of like, is there such thing as redemption? Like, should we feel sorry for her? Is she going to turn? Like, I mean, by the end of the book, I was not sure if she was going to remain a villain, right? Were you guys?
Me neither. No, isn't that fun, though?
Not really.
Yes.
That's cool.
It's very Alphabet Squadron vibes, especially with the torture droid. You know what I mean?
Some of those heavy questions about what is good and what is evil, what is redemption. Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, loved it.
Well, Wes, I have to ask you specifically. You know, Lorna D was not the only character. She was the titular character in this audio drama, not the only character. And I gotta know, how stoked were you for the return of Operancisis? Was it everything that you hoped for?
A young Operancisis, a vibrant, I know.
Young, hot.
Yeah, it was
sexually charged.
It was super cool to read about him in a book and have like a main part in a actual story. And I think it even alluded to him the way he was moving around. I think somewhere in the script it said it about the way he was moving, like serpentine like or something like that.
Serpentine, Carl.
Yeah, Lorna D had some kind of funny comment about him of like that I don't know, that slithery old bastard or something like that. I don't know. She called him something funny that made me laugh out loud.
Dude, I wanted so much more of him in this book. Like, legit, every single time that he showed up, I was like, I want this. I know we got to go forward with like the gangs and whatever. I just wanted more of him. He was. I never in my life. I'm not gonna say that we made this happen. I'm just going to say, since Wes drafted him, he has shown up a remarkable amount of times in
somebody was going to draft him, but I drafted him rather high, and that's probably why it happened that way.
In your defense, there are very few people that were around that we already know about. Like got Yoda and Operancisis and the old guy Yaddle, and then the old guy with Ahsoka in the Clone Wars. What's the guy's name?
Terrace
Sanube. Yeah. We got that guy. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, he was great. Yeah. And I also when I was listening to it, I missed how she transferred out of that friendship to a mercenary life. And I was like, oh man, I wish I would have I want now him to call her out as they go forward. Like I hope that comes back in a big way.
Face each other somehow.
That would be
cool.
great.
That would be cool. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, he's still around, obviously.
Of course.
Later on, when they. Well, no,
Twilight's don't live 300 years, as far as we know.
No. What I'm saying is, he's still around well after where we see him in this book, and he's aware of the Nile, and he thinks that Lorna D is their leader, because that's what the Jedi Council thinks in general.
He's the eye, right?
Now after the events of Tempest,
which is a bit of a weird thing that they did. Like, I don't specifically remember that happening in like a big way in the first book. Right? Was the first book that thought it? No, it was Cavan. I don't remember where it happened.
At the end of the Rising Storm, they think it.
Yeah. But there's not
it was like Bell. I think Bell said it to.
Yeah, it was such a casual drop or something dumb. Like the first time we found out the leaders, but they've like really harped on this now. Of like everybody thinks it's Lorna D. And
in
this
the comics too, they've confirmed it multiple times.
Yeah, which is like weird to me because there wasn't like some kind of big event where they found out it was Lorna D. I don't know. That still weirds me out that I cannot place in my mind why they think that. Like it feels like it should be a page turning story, but it's not. So I don't know. It's weird to me.
Yeah,
that's fair. Well, let's talk about other Tempest Runners here. I'm curious, how did everyone here feel about the return of Pan? And did you find yourself rooting for him or for Lorna?
I want him to die.
Yeah,
I was so ready for him to. I've been ready for Pan to die.
I mean, like Pan.
I hate him, dude.
I'm ready for.
He's a cockroach.
I like him.
Almost died.
I mean, he
so many times.
Yeah, I wanted to see how he would wiggle out of this one too, right? Because he barely got away in the Rising Storm, and then obviously I spoiled myself for the reveal of Pan because of listening to the audiobook for the Rising Storm. Right. But like he had to have gotten away during this, right? Like he had to have gotten away, and then Lorna just.
He got electrocuted. Thought he was gonna die. Okay. Then he exploded. Now that I was gonna die. Okay. Then he has like lung cancer or something. Yeah. He's like, oh, I thought I was gonna die. And then like a ship falls on. Now that I was gonna die.
Goddess.
Like, I will be honest.
Got me.
I listened to this audio drama. I think almost 2 months ago now. I don't remember if he dies in this. Is he alive at the end of this?
No.
Lorna kills him at the end.
Okay. That's right. But he is like, it's like Kenny in South Park. Pan-Eta is the Kenny of Star Wars. So like, you kill Pan-Eta. It's like, well, who hasn't?
A good reference.
So, maybe he'll come back as Pan-Eta the White after this. But Pan means bread, which means he's just white bread, which is funny too.
Wow. You're so proud of that. Oh my
I am proud of that.
God.
I really like Pan. He deserved to die ever since he punched that big Biff head in the hallway when he was escaping.
Oh my God! Yeah,
I forgot.
For real, his own guy.
Oh yeah, he sucks, dude. He's been a lot of bad decisions.
That was my name.
I really like his voice.
To the White.
Yeah, the voice.
I was a fan of the voice.
Job.
Yeah,
incredible job.
It's a fun voice.
And I was surprised actually at how quickly they brought him back, because when he escaped on his escape pod and was going back to whatever
his homeworld
or however it's pronounced, I was like, oh, so like he's gonna come back in like phase 3 or whatever. Like he's just gonna come back full force and like be a third party to this whole war. No, he came back like an hour later.
The next project, literally.
Yeah. So I was hoping he would play a bigger part, but he played his part well.
Me too. I was kind of surprised they killed him off. He'd have been a good aside or like a secondary story in one of these novels, just to be a thorn in the side of either Lorna or Marchion Ro.
Yeah. Now, I would argue that maybe the biggest thing that came out of this book is that we finally learned the answer to a question that was posed all the way back in Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule, and that was who killed Asgar Ro, right? All of the Tempest Runners were accused at one point or another. Cassiv was the one Marchion Ro believed to be responsible. Were you surprised to learn that it was actually Lorna who was the murderer? And do you think Marchion may ever discover that fact?
Well, here's the thing I got confused with, because in the Rising Storm, wasn't there a flashback where Marchion was like, he came in to see he finished the job, right? Because he found his father had been stabbed. So Marchion actually, for the legal reason, Marchion killed him. He didn't start the murder, but he finished.
He found a bleeding out Asgar Ro in his throne room and basically curb stomped him into oblivion.
Great, yes, because he died by the second one, but he did it like 7.
Yes.
So, which I love. So I love. We love that for you.
Patricide.
But we love some good old patricide. However, I don't mind Lorna killing Asgard. I thought it was fun. I think that it was a good character moment for her. Yeah, it was fun. It was a good time.
You said it was fun.
Yeah, patricide.
On a Star Wars podcast.
Who among us? But I think it was a cool moment for her because it gets her some agency. It gets her like dramatically to have a lot more like stake in her own destiny, I guess. Because I like that she followed the path, and was able to kind of coldly calculate that she needed him out of the way, without sacrificing her relationship to Markion because Markion wanted to kill him anyway. So I liked the moment. I don't think it wasn't like earth shattering, I guess, because I feel like when like Kassav killed him and we met Kassav, I'm like, I don't think Kassav did anything.
Kassav sucks, dude.
Kassav kind of sucks.
So, talk about other people
he was gonna murder
dead.
Asgard Ro, but then he got hot. That's Kassav.
Yeah, I think it definitely made sense to say. I think it made sense that she killed him.
Yeah,
I mean, she began the murder that was finished later.
If it were me and I took that information to Argon about the Tempest like plotting against him, and he told me, "Hey, what the hell are you doing? Like, you think I'm gonna reward you for this information you gave me that we would like go off and be the Nile together?" I would have such a grudge with this man that I would totally, not in real life, I would kill him, but not
Hypothetically
but I would
speaking,
kill him.
dead.
Right, Corey? Villains, right?
Absolutely. Justified death.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
All right. So no one too surprised. I really loved this part. I actually was kind of shocked. I don't know why. In my head, I always assumed that it was Pan. I felt like he's the kind of dude that would do it.
I can see that.
I kind of felt like Lorna was maybe too smart to make a move that big, but it turns out she was actually so smart she knew how to make a move that big. So that was fun, and I agree it does make sense for her character.
It'd have been cooler if it was Zetar. Just out of nowhere.
Time to die.
Do you think that Zetar plays the guitar?
Oh my god, absolutely. It's Star Wars. He has to.
And that's it for everybody. That's the end of the show.
Yeah.
Directed by George Lucas. The only thing that would have surprised me more than Lorna D being the murderer of Asgard Ro is if it was John Cena. That's probably the only thing.
Oh my god.
I think I have that
We're
sound.
only in phase 1.
I thought I had it queued up there.
And his name is John. And his name
twice.
Okay, sorry. I thought it would make it stop by pressing it again. Sorry, guys.
It can't be stopped.
Well, speaking of that, you'll see where I'm going with this in a minute. To quote a reasonably well-known playwright, "What's in a name?" And in all seriousness,
very good, Charles. Very good.
Let's talk about the theme of the power behind names in this story.
Sure.
Because Lorna D uses several different aliases throughout. And each time she kind of shapes a new identity around that name. She actually does kind of change her words, her actions, her personality in some respects. And by the end of the story, when she affirms her path as a leader of the Nile, she makes a point of saying no one should forget the name Lorna D. How did you view that aspect of her journey? Her really coming into the name Lorna D, accepting it and using that as her calling card moving forward.
I loved that. I'm going to say something brief about it because I want to hear you guys. I loved it because I love how thematically her shifting identity was used within this audio drama. I love that every time she met someone, she had a new identity and she kept moving it around and never really had a sense of purpose. And at the end, it's like, you know what? I am making these decisions for my life. I am the one that is killing these people. I'm the one deciding that if I'm innocent or not. I decide what I do. No one else does for me. And I'm going to brag about it. That's my name on the ship. It's my name on the Tempest. And yep, it's me. Like, it's just such a amazing reclamation of power and identity. And I thought it was weird in Light of the Jedi when we first heard about it. Like, okay, that's the name. But after this is my most impactful moment at the end when she's like, name it. It's me. It's the Game of Thrones moment. It's like, tell Cersei I want her to know it was me. It is. I love that part.
Yeah, I was a big fan. of that. And like, to make the whole name thing like a recurring theme in the story was I feel like a pretty fine line to walk. Like, it could have been dumb and cheesy and not really done well, but like I thought it was done really, really well kind of throughout. Like, I mean, like the fact that in the early parts of the story, like the slavers were like, she's like, don't you know who I am, or whatever, and they're like, shut the hell up, right? You know, we don't care who you are, right?
I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought that was cool, and it made it impactful, and it made it powerful for her, and I really enjoyed that about the story. I thought it was done really well.
Yeah. So like whenever she goes from place to place, goes back to her home world, and they see it's the Lorna D, like, oh, we know who Lorna D is. We know what the ship is. We know who this person is. Because before, like you said, Corey, and like you said, Eric, she wasn't taken seriously all throughout her childhood, and I guess throughout her adolescence. And then she gains a type of prosperity, I guess, within the Nihil. But, you know, she changed her name as a strategic point to, you know, not get in trouble and not be put to death. But as she goes through all these trials, even on that correctional vessel, and she learns more and more about herself and who she really is, then keeping that name and letting everybody know, hey, I am Lorna D, and you will know who she is too.
I also like how they're like, this is a correctional vessel. It's like, that's a prison ship? No, it's a correctional vessel. It's a prison ship.
Yeah, you know, I thought that was a pretty fun little small detail about the Republic that like I think is bigger than a lot of people will kind of see it as, right? Is because we talked a lot early on when we were predicting what the High Republic was going to be, and even in our first roundtable in the first High Republic book about like how are we going to get from point A to point B, what we know in the prequels to be, which is the downfall of the Republic and this greedy bunch of senators that are all in it for themselves, and like it's funny to see this like. That was the criticism of the Jedi, is they were this weird, idealistic, like, not a reality view of the galaxy. And we have this prison ship, which is like, everybody's trying real hard to not talk about it being a prison ship. Like, everybody can be rehabilitated. Like, we have literally somebody that was in the Nihil that is probably responsible for the death of billions of people. Like, literally nobody in human history is responsible for as much death as this person is, right? And, they can be redeemed. It's cool. They just need some therapy, right? And it's just like...
Yeah, like, we're going to give you therapy. You're going to do some community service on these planets.
Yeah.
And then,
it's obviously naive, and it was, like, painted in that way of, like... People are starting to see that this like we're all the Republic thing is a little naive and maybe not realistic, and like we had the who is the main prison guard? It's been a while since
Counselor Whittick.
Yeah, Counselor Whittick.
Yeah,
I think so. Right? Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah. Counselor Whittick or whatever. Like he even had that whole commentary about like, you know, I need to know that this is not all a waste, right? That I still believe in this mission, that the cause is just and is worth it and all this type of thing. And there is hope, right? And everybody's really grasping on to this idea that there's hope in the galaxy, and like somewhere between now and the prequels that is lost, right? Like there is no more hope, right? And like it's fascinating to me to see this, right? Because we don't have anything like this in the prequels. The galaxy is a dark place in the prequels. The dark side clouds everything, right? So to have this idea of hope, and we're starting to see it fade in subtle ways. Like it's not a very in your face, you know, the chancellor has been murdered on live TV, right? It's not that. Right. It's people that have nothing to do with the politics and the state of the galaxy, like this prison ship, these guards and people that work there, that we're starting to see the fabric of galactic reality fall apart, which is awesome to me.
The fabric of galactic reality. I like that.
Yeah,
I'm a fan of that.
Yeah,
that was nice.
And how big is this ship? It's a prison ship that holds hundreds, thousands of prisoners.
These
it's
galactic
gigantic,
vessels
and
are
now
giant.
And now it's hers. That's her. That is the Lorna D, and she has this giant. I mean, it's not like the Millennium Falcon where you can fit like 12 people on it. It's massive.
And
a full crew,
baby.
Yeah, and a full crew. She recruited the entire prison.
Yeah.
So that'd be great to see this as like an illustration or like in a short.
Art of book.
Was this the first prison ship that we've seen since Death Troopers.
I was thinking Death Troopers.
Well, we saw
Mandalorian.
a New Republic ship in Mandalorian. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Oh, right.
Which is what I was picturing in my head the whole time was that Mandalorian ship.
That's legit.
Okay.
That's legit.
Yeah. So bringing things back to the name aspect, I'm not trying to bring up something controversial here, but I'm just curious, did this stir up any connections to Rey taking the Skywalker name at the end of Rise of Skywalker? Like, I realize Lorna D was her given name when she was born, but I'm just curious if you drew any connections in terms of the power behind the name aspect.
Oh my God! First of all, how dare you?
This never crossed my mind.
No, it's never crossed my mind either. But something I did think of, if we're going to talk about movie references, is Solo in the Solo movie, a Star Wars story, because he takes that name and then it becomes a key part of his identity. I did think about that a lot.
Yep, that's a great one.
Well, names are interesting, right? Because I feel like for certain people, they mean very different things. Like for so long, it's been like your family name, right? Like keeping your family legacy has been such a thing, and some people change their names. Some people like really hate their given names, and I think that ultimately, what the Rise of Skywalker and Solo and now Tempest Runner all show is that whatever attitude you have towards your name, it is your name. It's your identifier. Whether it was given to you by your kin and you decide you want to uphold that, whether it was your situation like Han that you just want to own up to, or whether it's to honor the mentors that kind of guided you on like Rey, like that's your choice. It's your decision. And it's equally important no matter what it is. So I guess it's more so seeing Star Wars go that way as a whole trajectory rather than this story individually. And I hadn't thought about that before you brought it up, but I think it really does all kind of knit together nicely.
You know, it's kind of it's kind of funny. I don't know that I've ever told you guys this. It's sort of a personal thing to bring up live on the show, but
your given name is not Corey Helton.
It wasn't, right? Actually, funny enough. Yeah, I know, crazy.
What?
Like, yeah,
I've known you for over 3 years.
I know, and I've never told you guys this before. It's pretty wild.
Call you Darth Vader.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, fun fact, I'm actually a Sith. All right. Yeah, no, so what? Yeah, for the first 18 years of my life, my last name was Fisher. Funny enough, Fischer, Corey Fisher.
Wow.
Yeah, and my parents split when I was really young, right? And so I had a different last name than basically the rest of my family. But when I turned 18, I took who I know as my dad, I took his last name, right? Because he was my father, was always around, all that kind of thing. I took his last name, and I became Corey Helton when I turned 18, which I was in the middle of high school, so it's kind of weird, right? To be
that's a whole
this
thing.
person like forever and then change my name. But yeah, so I can kind of relate to this a little bit, right? Of like owning the name and that sort of thing. It's pretty interesting.
I don't think you fish. Do you fish?
No, I hate fishing, funny enough.
Yeah, so there you go. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
That's the origin of that name, though, right?
Well, it's
You're supposed to be fisherman.
Fischer. I don't know what that means. If it means something else.
Like if your last name was Baker, you
were a baker.
Be in the kitchen.
Well, fun fact: Eilerson means I was the son of a man named Eiler. That's it. But in Denmark, it was S-E-N instead of S-O-N, which is why everyone spells my name wrong, even on work emails.
Nice. Wes, this is your chance to own up to the fact that your real first name's Carl. No? All right.
No.
Charles, do you want us to call you Chuck now going forward? Is that what you want to be?
Exclusively, please.
Chuck Hank?
What are y'all's
Chucky Hanks?
What are y'all's middle names? We've never discussed this before.
Oh God, here we go.
Tell me your middle names right now.
Whoa. Charles, that reaction makes me really want to know yours.
No, this is just always a thing. So all right, here, let's play a quick game. My middle name starts with a P. What is it?
Penelope.
Everyone gets a guess. Not Peter, not Penelope, shockingly.
I thought of literally multiple
Paul.
inappropriate things that I cannot say on
I'm
the air.
sure you did.
Yes,
As soon as
you're
I asked the
100% a
question,
Paul.
I've
yes,
regretted it.
exactly. Patrick.
No. I have a family last name essentially that was like a previous past name related to some portion of my heritage, whether it's the Lithuanian side, I don't know. But it's actually Poyas, Poyas.
Oh, wait, that's right.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
I knew that. I knew this.
Yes. And so everyone is always like, what is that? And I'm like, I don't. How do you answer that? Like, what is any name?
What
Like,
are
it's
you?
just-
What's
it's
your
just
what's
a
your
name.
descriptor?
Just tell me it's
Yeah.
fish. It sounds like a fish. Poyas.
It does. It sounds like
Poyas?
Poyo or something.
Sounds like
Yeah.
a dish. Like a
All right.
dish, something you'd eat.
Mine is William.
like
It's after my
chicken.
grandfather.
Williams.
William, singular.
Oh, William.
After my
singular.
papa.
My middle name is Matthew. I don't know if it has any significance whatsoever.
Wow, how boring!
I wouldn't have guessed that.
Middle
All right,
names.
Wesley.
Church
Wes.
backgrounds, Eric, for the win. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Mine's Ryan. Mine's nothing spectacular either. But funny thing, my grandpa on my dad's side and my dad, well, basically my grandfather and my mom got into a shouting match. And my grandpa wouldn't talk to my mom or my dad for probably like 6 months to a year after I was born, because I was supposed to be Oscar Smith Jenkins the fifth.
That's right.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, I am not naming our kid Oscar. And my dad was like, you shouldn't do that because you'll get made fun of. And I was just like, I mean, now I think about it, like, I wouldn't mind being an Oscar. I'd probably be a good boxer, you know? So, but yeah, my grandpa was real pissed off that they killed the.
He had
they
4
killed the
going.
numbers. Yeah, they killed the numbers after me. So
There's something about the V of the 5th. Now we are so off topic here, but I love that, like, the idea of if you played your softball jersey, you have to be number 5 for everything. I feel like at that point.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Well, there you go, audience.
Tempest
There's something
Runner,
fun
right?
about us.
There we
Trying
go.
to get
Yeah.
us back on track.
And my initials are EWE, which spells you, which is a sheep.
Ew.
Anyway,
What?
All right. What do you think Marky and Rose's middle name is? Anyways,
Ascar. I honestly think it's Ascar
it probably is
because he would
Asgard.
hate that.
So speaking of Marky and then
Chad.
they're
Recover from that, Charles. Mark you on
Do you
Chad,
want-
bro.
all right.
Do you want to take this shot of fireball? Two in the same cup. It means balls back. It's house rules.
I just want to say that we took the most profound question in this entire roundtable and turned it into the stupidest shit ever. This
Yes, we did.
is what you get,
All right.
Charles.
Get off my
Why do
flip
I
cup
try?
team, Lorna.
How do I try?
Oh man, it's
All
gold.
right, trying to get us back on track. The Nile, including Marky and Chad Rowe, are really struggling at the end of this story. Right?
We
Because
can't
the
get our
Jedi-
security
Oh
deposit.
my
Okay, I'm
God.
done.
Shut up.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Jedi have been leading a galaxy-wide assault, basically,
Yes.
against them after their massacre at the Republic Fair. And while the Republic mistakenly believes Lorna D to be the Eye of the Nile, do you think at this point that Lorna actually has a shot to challenge Marky and Rowe as the true leader?
As of the end of this audio drama?
Yeah.
No.
No.
I don't know. We still don't know
don't
what
think so.
motivates the Nihil as a whole, because I think
That's true.
I think that Lorna D's like motivation certainly line up more with the Nihil than Marky and Rowe's motivation.
I agree with that
Right?
completely.
Yeah, because
I agree with that completely.
Yeah. Marky and Rowe wants to destroy the Jedi for
Yeah.
sort of unknown reasons that we have still, right? It's
Yeah.
not clearly defined.
It's an
yet.
ancient thing, yeah. I
Yeah.
think he would like Suicide Squad level put bombs in the back of every Nile's head.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
be like, I don't know, I'll blow him if I feel like it. Whereas I think Lorna does want to make the legacy of like the best version of the Nihil of like ruling the galaxy with like crime and
Yeah.
taking over the hyperspace lands. I think she would be better at it, frankly. But I
sure.
think in a weird way, Markion's got too much Joker chaos energy right now for her to take over.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
He has a better jumping off point to being a crazy villain and for better storytelling for the next however many books that we get about this.
Yeah.
And then if it's with Lorna, then they're gonna have to create chaos somehow.
Yeah,
exactly.
For her.
I will
We
say,
kinda already
I
know.
will say that it's certainly less like hole in one for Rowe right now, right? Because he doesn't have.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't have the old woman like that's creating hyperspace lanes anymore. He has some kind of database, but let's be honest, that's just an Excel file somewhere, and all you gotta do is get the file, and you're good to go,
Yeah.
right? So like
Microsoft Excel.
exactly.
Because it's so far back in time.
Yeah.
'Cause it's not present. We use Google Docs, right?
He's got Excel 95.
Why is this a recurring joke in this show? Like, yeah, but really though, like he does not have clear control of
Yeah.
the Nihil anymore. I don't think so. I mean, I think maybe Lorna D could lead the Nihil. I don't know. I don't know. We don't know enough about Roe yet. I hope the comic that we're getting like clears some of that up. But like
that cover, by the way, I know we talked about it a while back. Oh man, I think about that cover once a day at least. I am so psyched for that comic.
I think that Lorna will at least challenge Roe. I don't think she's going to actually usurp him in terms of leading the Nile. But the thing is, if Lorna is one thing, it's a survivor. And I think that audio drama really cemented that fact. And even though the creators of the High Republic have...
Come on! It's right there.
All right. Yes, the 3 members of Destiny's Child, Beyonce.
We'll start out with 4.
Of Destiny's Child that I don't know. And
Kelly Rowland.
There you go. And Lorna D.
They're all.
It kind of sounds like that works, actually.
Oh my God, yes, actually.
All right. Anyways, though the creators of the High Republic have already shown us that they're not afraid to kill off major characters, do you think that Lorna may survive the entire publishing initiative? Might she be long term?
Dude, I don't think anybody's safe, man. Like nobody that we've met is safe. I don't think, like for real.
No.
Except for the obvious characters we know are already alive per the canon timeline. I don't think anybody's safe.
Yeah, I think Game of Thrones has ruined this for me. Anybody can die. Anybody can die at any time.
I will say one thing though. I don't think that she will die without taking a main character with her. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they're gonna kill Lorna D and like we made it out. I think that like, you know, Belle, Avar, like a main player will die either in a duel or in like this whole building's coming down. It's the only way to stop Lorna. Get out of here. And like I think it'll be one of those kind of things where she will take someone with her and it will be very heartbreaking. But I don't think Lorna D just goes out because of an attack.
Okay. Yeah, you know, I will say,
but I don't think she survives the whole thing. I think she is out by the end of phase 3.
Speaking of major characters like being killed off and stuff, I do really enjoy the tie into the comics in this one, right? With the whole skier and what's the apprentice's name? Who's
Keeve.
like Keeve, and that's not High. Is that High Republic Adventures or the High Republic comic?
High Republic comic.
Okay, that is High Republic
Marvel
comic.
one.
Yeah. They're the main characters of that one, and like I've gotten into the comics with the High Republic, and I still get them every week and stuff, and like it was cool getting to see those characters, and I recognized them. And it was fun seeing the crossover between comics and novels and that sort of thing. So yeah, that was cool. So I don't know. Yeah, I can see that.
That voice acting was great too. When they showed up, I did get that little moment of like, oh my God, Scare and Keeve. And like they're doing that really well with this initiative about just peppering the cameos in.
Yep.
Love that.
Also, we saw somewhat of a We saw somewhat of a continuation of like it's a recurring theme in the comic that what is it Skier? What's his name?
Skier. It's like 3 S's.
It's
Skier.
Yes. Skier is having this like ongoing battle with like, is he connected to the Force? And some of that was in here. Some of that was in this book. Like
he said he's losing his connection to the Force.
Yeah, and he also like borderline loses his temper too, which is like probably like borderline Trandoshan, part of his comic stuff going on. So it was cool to see that continuation of stuff. I don't think we've really seen that deep of a connection to the comics yet.
Yeah.
Like so
it's like, hey, angry lizard man. Someone who's better at music than me should write that song.
Pretty good.
Thank you.
I was gonna say, going back to Lorna D and Markion Rowe. Like, remember how Lorna D was talking to Markion Rowe like in the very beginning? It's like, "What are you doing, Lorna?" It's like, "Not now, damn it! I'm busy with this." And he's like, "Tell me what's your status? What's your stat?" He kept asking that, and she kept like talking back to him, really. So I don't know if that's just how I don't know if that's how their whole like hierarchy works. If they I mean, it's been working for, I don't know, however many years she's been a Tempest Runner, and it hasn't been very long. So you can kind of tell that there's going to be an uprising of new Nihil. Maybe it's like most of the people that were the prisoners on that ship are now new Nihil, if you want to call it that. And then the old that are still, I guess they're loyal to Markion Rowe, and they think that Lorna has died, so they've already forgotten about her. I have no idea.
Well, I think that's the key too, is that like going forward, all the Nile are gonna basically need to make a choice, because all the ones the prisoners aren't joining the Nile, they're joining Lorna D's gang, essentially, right? So like they met her as a liberator. They don't I mean, who even knows if she was a Nile? Like some of them do, obviously, and she at the end is like, join the Nile with me, and they're like, or die in prison. Yeah, great. I'll do that instead. Like, it's a very easy decision. And now it's going to be like, all right, also, maybe you have to fight this absolute psycho with the beast that turns people to dust. And they're like, okay, hold on. I didn't sign up for that part.
But what about we'll feed you just a little bit better than that gruel that you got every day? And you had to pay for that crap.
Food
you didn't
does
just
a
get
lot.
it for free.
Food does a lot, but I think that that'll be interesting to see when that like I love when villains go up against each other. I mean, it's Vader Palpatine, right? It's the idea of like when the villains fracture, the heroes win, and I think that I keep saying phase and wave interchangeably. When Wave 2 gets going, like cause we're ending. No, damn it, we're Wave 3 of Phase 1 is what we're about to get.
Okay.
So I think it's going to end on a downswing to start Phase 2. And I think that Lorna, her role as prison leader and Nile usurper will come into play. Because I guess what I want to ask you guys, I know Charles has been asking a bunch of stuff out, but we seem to have lost him for this one, so we're going to finish it up. I want to ask you guys, do you think that this as an audio drama means, even though we don't like it, a lot less people listen to this than read the books, right? Like a lot, which is, it's a new medium, but we can admit that. How do you think they're going to tie this in with the Fallen Star of like, because some people are going to have no idea that Lorna D has a new gang. Do you think we're going to see this in the Fallen Star?
I don't know. I really don't know how this is going to all tie itself off. And also, apologies, guys. Charles's power just suddenly went out, so like we lost him. So we switched around here. But he's gonna try to rejoin. We'll see. But I mean, I don't really know how this is all gonna come out. I mean, I think that's the beauty of the publishing initiative, right? Is we don't know what's gonna happen, and I don't think it's like predictable either. Like we have a couple of big predictions. Like we sort of know that like the big space station is doomed, right?
Starlight Beacon
is gone at some point. Like I think we can all readily agree with that. Like
I mean, it's not there.
Yeah, right.
It's not there when we see it. So
exactly right. So it's not there, and I mean, other than that, that's kind of like the only known thing. So I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah. They're gonna have to have an aside, or they're gonna have to have a passage with Lorna where she says that she kills Pan. Because I don't think anybody else really knows that Pan is dead except for her. So if they're going to incorporate that somehow in the book, then she's probably going to have to she's going to have to reveal that to the audience if they haven't listened to this. Because that's really the only thing that, other than she has this whole new group, I guess that's the big takeaway from this, is that she got away from the Republic. She has this whole new group of recruited prisoners that are on her side now. And then Pan-Eta is no longer alive, even though a lot of people thought he was dead. He was back on his homeworld. If they never mentioned it again, they would think that was probably like just a story that wasn't finished, that he just went back to his homeworld and he just, lived happily ever after.
Although B Nasty makes a great point in the chat. Based on the solicits we've gotten and some of the cover images for the next issues of the comic, Lorna seems like she might feature in that, because she's like holding a lightsaber on the cover of one of them and things like that. So I think that's the beauty of this initiative, is that we do get a lot of continuation. But hey, guys, since Charles has been, thank you, Jared, he has been hit by the leveler, unfortunately.
That's terrible.
He had no Easter eggs this time around, which is also very lucky for us. But let's go back around. If he gets back around by the time we finish, that's awesome. If not, let's re-rate this, because we always like to see if we change our minds a little bit on stuff. We were all in the 8s. Corey, you started with an 8.8. What is your final ranking of this audio drama?
I think I will keep it there. I mean, I think I really enjoyed this, and like I'm also somewhat like, I think it's also a little political, right? I think I'm inclined to give audio dramas higher reviews because, like, I want them, right? I want them to continue. I want people to enjoy them. I think it's a weird, unique, entire genre that we've recently added to Star Wars, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And I want more of them. I wish we even got more than we did, right? Like, it feels weird that we only have 3, but like that's crazy. Yeah. So, you know, I'm inclined to keep my score. I enjoyed this book. I'm a sucker for a villain story. I thought Lorna D is by far the like the most interesting of the Nihil characters so far. I guess we'll see what the comic does for Martian Rowe, but I'm excited for it. I mean, I really enjoyed it. 8.8.
Oh my God, you listen to so many audiobooks. You said Martian. I heard it. I saw it.
I'm sorry.
Wes, but how about you? You're at 8.1, dude.
I think I'll bump it up to an 8.2. Maybe I'll bump up to 8.3. Just because, I mean, us discussing it, giving us the overall swing of this book. Why, or audio drama? Why did we listen to it? We listened to it because now we know that Lorna had escaped the Republic and has this new team with her, this new set of villains that's going to go, you know, pillage and plunder something, or they're going to go right after Martian Rowe, or they're going to go after the Republic that had enslaved everybody. So we do have a stepping point after this audio drama on where it's going to be and what could be after Markion finds out about Lorna just surviving, to be quite clear. But 8.3. That's what I'm gonna end it as.
All right, yeah, I'll bump up to an 8.5 myself. I think that similar to kind of the end of Out of the Shadows, it's interesting that, like, even though there were some issues I had with it, like, the end of it is like, oh, I'm so stoked for the next thing, which is kind of the beauty of the High Republic, is that there's always something that is very exciting to look forward to. And I think you're all right. The more we talk about how this ended with Lorna and her crew, I think that's really, really going to play into what's going to happen next. And her having this much agency and kind of doubling down on her namesake is so fun and so cool. And like you said, Corey, I want more of these. I love this format. I think that even though I like the other two slightly better thus far, I love the swings they're taking. I love the format changes they're playing within audio dramas themselves. And I really hope that people are enjoying them and supporting them as much as they are. I hope Cavan does more. And I really can't wait to see all these characters again in the next thing in January, when I think everything is going to hit the proverbial fan. But all that being said, two more things before we close out tonight. One, as a reminder, next week we'll be talking Star Wars Visions, so make sure you watch those first couple episodes. We're going to probably go through the first maybe 4 to 5, and kind of give what we thought about them and see how they were up in our rankings, and talk about kind of what we think they could do maybe in some future episodes. But that'll be next week. And Wes, tell us about something that's coming back this week that we've missed for a little while.
Yes. So coming back this Friday, we're going to do Eugenie Game Nights. It's back.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So we have I got a couple new things that I was going to add to the stream that I finally got squared away, and I'll be revealing those on Friday. Probably going to play Battlefront. That's probably the easiest, most enjoyable thing to watch. I'm going to check to see if I can switch off between my mini SNES and the regular game itself, if it's quick, so I can play like a quick game of like Super Star Wars or Super Return of the Jedi or something. Oh my God,
that'd be awesome.
Man, it's super retro, but I have it and I want to use it. So,
and it's impossible to beat because those games were so hard.
Yeah, so it's gonna be like a playthrough until I die, and then I'll go to the actual game that we're gonna play. But yeah,
that's awesome, dude.
This Friday, what date is that? The 2nd? 1st?
October 1st.
October 1st. It's a Friday night. I'm going to be going live at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's 7 p.m. Central for all you normal people. I don't know about the 8 p.m. Easterns. So I'll see you there on Friday. I'll be doing a lot Battlefront, and just come hang out, laugh, cry, cheer, do what you got to do. But all in all, have a good time, and may the Force be with you.
Oh, look at that. Perfect. All right. Well, we will see you, Wes, on Friday. And the rest of you, we will see you next Monday for some Visions talk. because my friends, that'll do it for this week's episode of The Living Force. You can support us on Patreon. Thank you so much. You are the reason we're able to do this show and all the things about it. Keep your eyes peeled for a poll or an email coming out about your next Patreon reward. A special thank you goes out to Cheryl Bell, OK Endar, Jeremy Kazina, Patrick Ortiz, and Carl Sander on our Jedi High Council, and Elizabeth Cloutier, Jason Mitchell, Freddie C., and Sally and Chris Eilerson on our Alliance High Command. You can find us on Twitter. I'm at Eric Eilerson. Corey is at StoriesMD. Wes is at Boss West. Charles' power goes out. He didn't have Twitter anymore. A special thank you goes out to Matt Davenport, our amazing editor. Ryan, our graphic designer extraordinaire. And Wes, our producer and community manager. Thank you to Corey, Charles, and Wes for podcasting with me tonight. Thank you to the Dallas Cowboys for beating the Eagles 20-7 as of now. And as always, may the force be with you. Dab.